Hey guys, Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you my review plus on-feet video of the brand new Nike Women's Hypervenom Phantom 2 in the Blue Lagoon, Volt Yellow, and Black Women's World Cup colorway. Now inside the box I do include a string bag to go along with the shoes themselves. The string bag is Volt Yellow in color with black strings. You're going to find this very fancy black graphic that matches the shoes on the front of the bag, your Hypervenom branding in black right there as well, and the back is solid Volt Yellow in color with a single Nike swoosh in black right there at the bottom. Along with the string bag, they include these two individual tags that would normally be attached to the shoes, but I've already removed them, as you guys can see. This is a Nike Women tag that essentially just lets you know that this is a women's colorway. Not sure why the camera won't focus, but you get the idea. And they also include this tag right here that essentially lets you know that the graphic printed on the bottom of the sole and studs will wear off over time, something we will talk about more a little bit later in the video. Other than the bag and the tags, all you get inside the box, as you guys can see, are the shoes themselves. So I'll get these guys out of the box really quickly, and we'll take a closer look at the women's variation, or the Women's World Cup colorway, of the Nike Hypervenom Phantom 2. Now, given that this is a women's colorway, it only comes in women's sizing, which a lot of people would automatically assume means that the shoe is narrower, and that if you wear a men's size, you won't be able to wear the Women's World Cup version of any of the new Nike models, including the Hypervenom Phantom 2. And that's not actually the case. Depending on which men's size you wear, you can actually pick these up, because it's only the sizing that's different and not actually the shape or width or just general fit of the shoe. So I'm going to be talking about that in detail in today's video. We're going to be taking a closer look at this very, very unique and very cool looking colorway, as well as just going over general tech specs of the new Nike Hypervenom Phantom 2, both the men's and women's version. So if you're interested in learning more about this particular shoe, please stick around and watch the entire video. And if you're interested in a pair for yourself, check out the review page on my website. That'll be the very first link down below in the description of this video. On that page, you will find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you will be able to pick these guys up below their normal $275 retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair, first link down below in the description, go ahead and check it out. And with that being said, let's get right into the review. All right, so here is a look at the women's Hypervenom Phantom 2s on feet, and they look absolutely fantastic. This is a really, really unique and good looking colorway. You guys are probably wondering though, how am I wearing a women's shoe? Am I wearing a smaller size? And the answer to that question is no. I'm wearing the women's equivalent size, and I'll explain what that means in just a second. Now, because this is a women's shoe, I think a lot of people automatically assume that it's actually women's fit as well, meaning that the shape and general fit of the shoe is different. And the fit is different in that the sizing isn't the same, but the actual shape and construction is no different at all from the men's shoe. Essentially, all you have to do if you want to wear any women's shoe, not just this one, is do the sizing conversion. They used to do women's specific fit shoes. They just don't do that anymore, just because it's not cost effective. And for the most part, soccer shoes are designed to fit tight, whether you're a guy or a girl. So like I said, women's fit, it's no longer a thing anymore, at least when you're talking about Nike and Adidas. As far as what I needed to do in order to get these to fit, I would normally wear a size 9 US in a men's Hypervenom Phantom 2, and when you're going to from men's to women's sizing, essentially what you want to do is bump it up 1.5 sizes. So instead of wearing a 9 US in the women's Hypervenom Phantom, I'm wearing a 10.5 US to achieve the same fit as a men's size 9. Now, they make the women's Hypervenom Phantom 2 all the way up to a size 11, so even if you wore a size 9.5 US in the men's Hypervenom Phantom 2, or just a 9.5 US men's size, you can wear an 11 and it will be the exact same fit as that men's 9.5. So unfortunately, if you wear a 10 or a 10.5, 11, they don't necessarily make these in those bigger sizes. But like I said, they make them up to size 11. So if you are trying to get a pair of these for yourself to actually wear, all you have to do is take your men's size, add 1.5 sizes, and that's what you need to order to wear the women's variation of any of these new Women's World Cup Nike models. Because like I said, they're the exact same quality, exact same construction, exact same fit. The only difference here is the actual sizing. So as far as the overall fit and feel of the shoe is concerned, it's the new Hypervenom Phantom 2, which is quite a unique shoe. It does have that Nike Skin upper that feels a little bit firmer and a little bit stiffer, and I think a lot of people might expect when you put these on your feet for the first time. They definitely have an interesting kind of locked in sensation, which makes for a very, very responsive feel. Not necessarily the softest feel on feet though. It's thin, but it's very, very firm. It's unique, hard to explain, but does perform really, really well. And if you're looking for a thinner touch on the ball, that is exactly what you get here. Of course, you do have the mid-cut design here, which is not necessarily something that adds to the overall effectiveness of the overall performance and just how the shoe fits and feels in general. It's more of an add-on thing on the Hypervenom Phantom 2, given that the rest of the upper isn't actually made from Flyknit. But if you like the idea of the mid-cut shoe, if you just like how it feels in general, there's nothing wrong with this particular model at all. And once you get used to it, it's something that does create somewhat of a seamless sensation when you're actually wearing them. A lot of people like the mid-cut shoes, and that's why the Hypervenom Phantom 2, at this point so far, has been relatively successful and relatively well received. Of course, if you don't want the Phantom 2 with the mid-cut collar, you can go with the finish that essentially is a low-cut version of this shoe with the exact same upper. Again, the fit of the shoe, exactly the same as the men's version, same width, same shape. So it's not necessarily ideal for wider foot types, given that this Nike Skin upper isn't really going to stretch all that much at all. The way it fits from right out of the box is the way it's going to fit for its entire lifespan. And again, coming back to sizing, basically if you want to go from a men's shoe to a women's shoe, all you have to do is add 1.5 sizes. Just a quick note on the laces. On my left shoe, I have the stock yellow laces that come with the shoes. And on my right foot, I have a pair of premium neon yellow with black dots SR4U replacement laces. If you guys are interested in a pair of replacement laces for yourself, check out the website www.sr4ulaces.com. You find a direct link to that website down below in the description of this video. Next, let's talk about the colorway that is very, very unique. Now, the base for the upper is what's labeled as Blue Lagoon on the box, but as you guys can see, this is metallic blue as opposed to just that standard Blue Lagoon color that we have seen on Nike soccer cleats in the past. This metallic blue really does pop, and it gives the shoe a very interesting look. It's extremely flashy, but at the same time, depending on how the light hits the shoe, it can look a lot darker or a lot lighter, which I really like. I like the metallic aspect, and unlike other metallic shoes that we have seen from Nike in the past, such as more recently the Silverwear CR7, this is not going to wear off. It's something that's a permanent finish, so it will look metallic for the entire lifespan of the shoe, which is really nice. Along with that metallic blue, you do of course have the Volt yellow and black accents in the form of that pattern running along the outside of the shoe that I think looks much better in this particular color scheme as opposed to the men's Silver Storm colorway, which obviously has the gray, the orange, and the black. So you have that pattern going across the lateral and medial side of the shoe. You have a white Nike swoosh with a black outline on both the front and back, which looks really, really good. You have the Volt yellow laces that come stock with the shoes, and of course the elasticated Flyknit area, both the kind of tongue portion as well as the collar, is Volt yellow in color with a mid layer of black. So when it stretches out, it does expose that black in the Flyknit, and of course the inside of the collar is solid black as well, which is really, really nice because it's not going to look all that dirty very quickly. Insole, fully removable, mesh liner on top. You have Volt yellow, and then of course that gold Hypervenom graphic, so a little bit of extra gold in the color that looks pretty cool in my opinion. And then of course the insole is the same again as the men's version of the Phantom 2, just being made from a pretty soft spongy foam material that does a pretty good job of providing some good step-in comfort with this particular shoe. Moving on to the sole plate, of course you're going to find that it does feature that Volt yellow base, one single white Nike swoosh in the middle, and then the printed on crackle graphic in black, which like I mentioned at the start of the video will wear off over time. That's a little tag that I showed you guys. And it doesn't actually wear off as quickly as you might expect. Obviously, if you walk on cement, the pattern on the bottom of the studs is going to wear off very, very quickly just because it's very abrasive and it'll actually wear away at the plastic as well as the paint. But I did find that just from wearing the men's version of the Phantom, the pattern itself is a lot more durable than you might expect. I made a video specifically on this topic, so if you are interested in seeing the durability of this graphic firsthand, be sure to check out that video. I'll leave an annotation on screen. But overall, really, really cool looking colorway. I much prefer this Women's World Cup colorway over the Silver Storm version of the Phantom 2, but that's just my opinion. Let me know your opinions down below in the comment section. Do you like how these look? Why or why not? And with that being said, let's move on to the tech specs so we can learn a little bit more about the overall performance. As far as performance is concerned, the Hypervenom Phantom 2 is a very, very capable piece of footwear. Now, if you guys do want to see these things in action, I'll leave an annotation on screen to my playtest video. You can go ahead and check that out if you are at all interested. But for the sake of this video, go over all of the tech specs that you should know if you are planning on picking these up. Now, first things first, this is the women's version. Have they made any differences to the materials or just the overall construction of the shoe? And the answer to that question is no. This is the exact same shoe as the men's version of the Phantom 2, just with a different colorway. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, the sizing is different. Other than that, it's exactly the same shoe. So you're going to have that Nike Skin upper that is dramatically different from what we saw on the original Hypervenom Phantom. It's thin, but at the same time, it's very firm and fairly rigid. And when you combine that with the fly wire that runs through the lateral, as well as the medial side of the shoe working directly with the lacing system into the base of the sole, when you do put these on your feet, tie the laces tight, you get an extremely locked in, very, very responsive feel. There's next to no rollover in this shoe whatsoever. So if you want that one-to-one responsiveness, the second that you react is the second that the shoe reacts. The new Hypervenom line, whether it be the Phantom 2 or even the Finish model, is definitely something to consider because it is, like I said, one of the most responsive shoes on the market that provides a thin, more of a barefoot type of sensation, but at the same time, there is a solid sensation to the upper as well, just because it's not quite as soft and pliable as you perhaps might get from something from the Mercurial line. You do have the off-centered lacing system, as you guys can see. There is a slight texturing to the upper as well. You can see the embossed lines here, as well as just a very fine texturing on the surface of the upper to go along with that. Of course, the shoe is finished off with ACC all conditions control, acting as your wet control element, which does allow for pretty good grip on the ball in wet playing conditions. You don't have a tongue here because this is the Phantom 2, so you have a Flyknit, elasticated Flyknit material running through the middle of the shoe, which is really, really nice. Creates more of a seamless sensation, but of course you're going to get that one-piece design from the Finish model as well, minus the collar. You're going to find that there's an internal plastic heel counter here, and then of course your Flyknit dynamic fit collar, which is an elasticated material. A lot of people kind of confuse this with being some kind of an ankle brace that's going to provide extra support. That's not actually the case at all. It's something that wraps your ankle. It's hardly noticeable once you actually get used to the shoe, and there's really no rigidity to it whatsoever. It's there to provide more of a seamless sensation where it feels like the shoe flows from your leg onto your foot as opposed to being something that is strapped to your foot. It's not quite as noticeable a sensation as what you're going to find from the Superfly or Magista Obra models, just because the shoe's not entirely made from Flyknit material. But if you like that mid-cut sensation, you definitely do get that here with the Hypervenom Phantom 2. And one nice little improvement that you won't get with the Obra or Superfly is the actual construction. You can see that they've moved the seam to the lateral side here. They've made it a lot smaller, a lot less clunky, as opposed to running directly across the back of the Achilles tendon area, which in my opinion is just a little bit more comfortable from the get-go. Not necessarily in the long run, but when you're breaking the shoes in initially, I like that the seam is pushed over a little bit. Inside the shoe, you are going to find a synthetic leather lining material with a decent amount of padding. It does take some getting used to with any of the mid-cut Flyknit models just because of how it secures your foot in place. But as long as you tie the laces tight and take things slow as far as the break-in process is concerned, you shouldn't have too many issues as far as discomfort goes. And then moving on to the sole plate, you are going to find the glass nylon sole plate that looks identical to what you found on the original Phantom, but is much more flexible. It does have the split toe design, which again is something that really doesn't impact the feel or performance of the shoe. You're just not going to notice it while you're wearing them. The idea is that both sides of the forefoot will move independently of each other because it's technically split down the middle. But again, it's not something that you really notice while you're wearing the shoe at all. And then of course, it's the same stud pattern that carries over. All conical studs, similar layout to what you're going to find on the Mercurials, but because the studs are conical in shape and have a fairly narrow profile, they dig into the ground quite nicely and provide really good grip, but at the same time you have that freedom to twist and pivot when your foot is actually planted. So if you're just looking for good traction overall, you're definitely going to get that from the Hypervenom line in general. So that's pretty much it as far as tech specs go. Again, the women's version of the Phantom 2 is identical to that of the men's version of the Phantom 2. The only difference is the sizing. In terms of weight, I thought it'd be fun to compare the men's version of the Phantom 2 to the women's version of the Phantom 2. Now keep in mind, these are both in brand new condition. The men's one is a size 9 US. This is a women's size 10.5 US, which is technically the same size, so this is a very fair comparison. And like I mentioned earlier, the construction is exactly the same. The only difference is the sizing. So we'll start off with the men's version of the Phantom 2, throw it on the scale, and you can see that it weighs in at 7.8 ounces, the equivalent of 221 grams. So we'll change the scale back to ounces, pull these off, and we'll throw on the women's version of the Hypervenom Phantom 2, and you can see that they weigh in at 7.8 ounces, the equivalent of 221 grams, the exact same weight. So whether you buy the men's or women's version of the shoe, as long as they are the same size, so 1.5 sizes bigger than the men's version, they're going to be the exact same weight. Obviously, a smaller shoe will weigh less, a bigger shoe will weigh more, but if you're dealing with two shoes that are the same size, technically, they will weigh the exact same weight. So overall, the Hypervenom Phantom 2 is not the lightest shoe around, but it still is going to provide a nice lightweight feel on feet, as well as in hand. And because of how locked in of a sensation they provide due to the stiffer Nike Skin upper, and of course all the rigidity and structure you get from the Flywire running through the upper as well, it just provides a nice one-to-one sensation where you don't really feel the weight of the shoes on your feet whatsoever. So again, if you're looking for something that's lightweight but at the same time very solid feeling, the Hypervenom Phantom 2 is a very, very good option. Alright guys, that's it for my review of the Women's World Cup women's version of the Nike Hypervenom Phantom 2. Again, if you guys are interested in a pair of these for yourself, be sure to check out the first link down below in the description. That'll take you to the review page on my website where you will find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you can pick these up below their normal $275 retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair for yourself, first link down below in the description, go ahead and check it out. If you have any questions at all regarding the Women's World Cup Nike Hypervenom Phantom 2, leave them down below in the comment section. I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.